CSPD is asking for the community's help after the attempted kidnapping of a 10-year-old boy this afternoon. This happened just after 3 o'clock at Academy International Elementary School. A 29-year-old man is arrested after threatening a bar employee with a gun early this morning, and police are now looking for a second person. Fox 21 News right now. Colorado becomes the third state in the U.S. to allow pharmacists to prescribe birth control. Under the 2016 law, women are required to complete a questionnaire, get their blood pressure checked, and consult with a pharmacist before getting birth control over the counter. Health professionals say the move will increase access to oral contraceptives in rural areas and benefit those who may be turned off by having to schedule and wait for a doctor's appointment. Pharmacies are preparing to offer the service by April. If it passes, Colorado would join 5 other states and Washington, D.C. as the only other places in the country to have such a ban, but it's unlikely to pass. Fox 21's Cody Fisher joins us right now with both sides of the argument and why it probably won't make it through the state Senate. Cody. Investigators continue to search for clues surrounding a deadly home explosion just north of Denver. Regulators say there are no signs of any leaks in a gas well nearby the home that exploded. Immigration officials say more than 24 people suspected of being in the country illegally have been arrested in Colorado and Wyoming during an operation targeting immigrants accused of crimes. Laura Saxton and Doug Schelling have been missing their daughter Kelsey every minute of every day and wondering what happened. Within the last couple hours, U.S. officials confirming North Korea test-fired a ballistic missile in the Sea of Japan. This comes as Secretary of State Rex Tillerson addresses the United Nations Security Council. Washington wants to tighten the implementation of sanctions and build international resolve to isolate the communist North so it'll end its nuclear program. Happening tonight, the search is on for a man they're calling a person of interest in the murder case of 2 Colorado Springs teenagers.
He is 18-year-old Diego Carlos Chacon, who's also going by the name Casper.
An 8-year-old boy shot and killed inside his classroom this morning in what police are calling a murder-suicide. Severe weather makes another appearance up and down the Front Range. Hail, thunderstorms, and tornado warnings happening across the state. Police say there could be more victims after a southern Colorado Springs man is charged with sexually assaulting his 12-year-old neighbor.
Throws you around the base. Oh, he lost a shoe. Oh my God, who loses a shoe? Honestly, seriously. I guess he didn't learn how to tie him. Maybe we should send him back to kindergarten.
Or call him.
That used to happen in cross-country races all the time. Never happened to me, thank God.
Oh, I thought it did happen.
No. I always felt so bad for the people, and they would just keep on trucking without a shoe.
I know, right?
And you didn't even help them.
No, I pushed him down.
You're responsible for it. I know.
And I'm happy to report we do have a little bit of progress. We showed this story last night at 10, and a viewer tweeted me that signature that we showed you.
Right.
He thought it looked like Randolph Reed.
Okay.
So Ira started chasing down that lead, and he found a Randolph Reed who was in the Army, enlisted in 1942 in the New Jersey area.
So that's a
fingers
match.
Crossed,
yeah.
Hopefully. So 3 down, 3-ish down, 14 to go.
And you can actually help solve the mystery by sharing this story far and wide. There's a link on our website, fox21news.com.
Modifications to a ski lift drive control system as well as quick speed changes by the lift operator caused a mother and her 2 daughters to be thrown from a chairlift. The latest tonight on the death of an Air Force Academy cadet. The cadet who died in a skydiving accident was an experienced jumper.
And we asked all of you on Facebook if you thought this year's Super Bowl commercials were touchdowns.
Or if they were just fumbles, asking which ones you liked, which ones you didn't. And we had some mixed reviews.
Mixed reviews. Debbie Thorpe saying that the Buick ad featuring Cam Newton commercial has been the best so far.
That was pretty cute. Patty Berg says none of them have been good. She's very disappointed.
Yeah, in fact, many of you actually liked the Buick commercials. And also?
And we asked if you liked the commercials overall this year. 75% said you hated them.
Wow.
25% said you liked them. That's not good. The system is being deployed to protect the country from the growing threat from North Korea and its nuclear ambitions. But people living in the area say they're worried about harmful effects from the electromagnetic waves created from THAAD's radar. You'd think they'd be a little more concerned about a crazy guy a couple miles north. Well, South Korea says those fears are completely unfounded and there is no danger. Those opposed to the system also say they're frustrated by an increasingly heavy police and military presence in the area. Scott, seems like a small price to pay. Time is ticking for both sides of the travel ban debate. Attorneys have until tomorrow to file legal briefs before the court makes a final decision on whether or not the travel ban impacting 7 Muslim-majority nations stays or goes. President Trump is halfway towards fulfilling a major campaign promise, getting rid of Obamacare.
The House passed the health care reform this afternoon, culminating a weeks-long internal battle for the GOP.
Fox's Mike Emanuel has the story of the bill's passage on the Hill and the threats by Democrats who say these pirate Republicans have now walked the plank and they will pay. In his primetime address last night, President Trump offered a softer tone while urging Congress to invest heavily in domestic spending. Fox 21's national correspondent Mark Meredith is in Washington with why turning the idea into reality won't be as easy as some think. All right, this is kind of weird, kind of gross. Would you drink this? It's a soda made from pickle juice.
Ew. I don't think so.
I think I'd do it.
I would
On a dare.
See, I like pickles,
$10.
but no thanks. Well, Grandpa Joe's candy shop in Pennsylvania and Ohio, they will begin selling bottled pickle juice soda. $2.50 a bottle, unless you ship it. And then, so if you guys want to try it, it's going to cost you $10 a bottle to buy it online.
Whoa.
Or you could just go to the store, grab a jar of pickles, add a little bubbly water to it, and you got the same thing. You're welcome.
It's supposed to be good for leg cramps. I know that. You know,
totally.
It gets rid of your leg cramps. They should.
Somebody ran track, huh?
You should market that. I just know Mom would always say that.
Okay, this makes me feel ill. Make this graphic go away. We're pregnant. Oh, hey.
There's other
There's
weird
more.
food news. Introducing the McDonald's fork. It's essentially a fork with fries as prongs.
Oh, that's ingenious.
It is. It's meant to pick up the sandwich toppings that fall out while eating. Forks will be available this Friday at participating locations.
Now that makes all kinds of sense.
Absolutely. We're going to go for 80 here in the Springs. Upper 70s, low 80s on Sunday.
Those are maracas. I thought they were flowers.
Well, I thought they were drinks, though. Cinco de Mayo. I thought they were margaritas.
Actually, they're a mixture of both made to look like that when we were putting that together.
Yes.
Like your style,
Yes.
Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
See you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.
Youth correction facilities in Colorado under fire for using excessive violence and harsh measures to discipline incarcerated kids. The Colorado Child Safety Coalition releasing a report saying the state's facilities have failed its youth thanks to an increase in severe measures like pain compliance, which they say is a violation of the kids' constitutional rights. Some of the disciplinary measures include knee strikes, solitary confinement, and full-body straitjackets called the wrap. Colorado is one of the few states in the entire country that use the wrap. In fact, in 2016 alone, DYC staff placed youth in solitary confinement more than 2,000 times and used physical restraints more than 3,000 times. Now, this video is actually showing the wrap being used. A teen who was incarcerated at age 11 for suicidal tendencies said it was a humiliating experience all around. He said he was placed in the wrap several times.
I definitely think it makes things a lot worse in that it's completely and utterly traumatic. It constricts your rib cage a lot, so it makes breathing really hard. You can't really move your hands or anything like that. And kids can be in that for hours at a time. It's almost like a torture device.
Well, the coalition says they'd like the DYC to start using the approach used in Missouri, which they consider the gold standard. It provides rehabilitative treatment to incarcerated youth, treats kids like kids without forced isolation or those full-body restraints. They're recommending a pilot program start immediately, saying it's proven to keep kids and staff safer while maintaining low repeat rates and high educational outcomes. In tonight's special report, at one point in your life, you may have heard a higher calling, a draw towards something bigger than yourself. Well, that's what happened to one airman stationed here at Peterson, and he left a lot behind to serve our country.
It was just another story printed on the second page underneath the Tigers football score. There's a lot of magic in that town that just like runs through the whole city.
Nashville is the town where this singer-songwriter's dreams came true.
Burning up every station like a million times, it seemed like a day, and you couldn't turn the station on without hearing it.
But the story behind Jamie Teachner's biggest hit so far comes from a dark place. The true story of a teenager's suicide.
It said he was only 18. About my age, found him face down on his bedroom floor.
Blaine Larson recorded the song Jamie wrote with Rory Feek, and what do you know? It went platinum.
I'll never forget that moment, and we sat there and we were like, we've done it, we've arrived, you know, and that was truly the time.
But here's what means more to Jamie than all the awards in the world.
This young girl had walked into her father's bedroom and went to his nightstand because he kept a pistol there.
She pressed that pistol to her temple, and then this song came on the radio.
How do you get that lonely? And nobody knows.
She made a different choice.
And took the gun in and gave it to her mother and told her what she was going to do and said, I heard this song and it made me think nobody knew that I was lonely.
Her mom called the radio station, and that story got back to Jamie. And that's when he fully realized the power of music. And you might say that's what led him here to Peterson Air Force Base, where he's the lead singer of Wild Blue Country.
From a very genuine, old-fashioned point of view, I just wanted to serve. And then I saw there was a chance to be a commercial country singer for the Air Force.
But Jamie is just 1/4 of this equation.
First, mom kicks in, and so I wanted to know, you know, what does that look like? What are the schools like? Where are we going to live?
Jen, his high school sweetheart, got on board.
We've both had family members who have served, so it was always important to us, but I think there was a little bit of a disconnect for our children.
Charlie and Lily were quick to follow.
I was like, yay, we get to go somewhere and have an adventure. And I was like, man, I'm going to miss my friends.
They're the biggest reasons Jamie went down this path, trading his cowboy boots for camo.
I thought it was really cool and weird because he's never worn it before.
Since we've been here, I've seen a change in our family. At 5 o'clock, when the day's over, they play the anthem. And when you're outside, you're supposed to turn and face the music. For them, if they're inside, they run outside and put their hand on their heart. They love the anthem.
When they call, we fight wars. There's mud on our floorboards. And harvest time's the only time that we miss church.
Jamie hopes his music inspires the next generation of service members, just as it certainly inspired the next generation of teachers.
You gotta rock if you're gonna roll with me. Baby, you gotta rock if you're gonna roll with me.
And Jamie's had multiple top 10 songs as a solo artist. He's done backup vocals for Blake Shelton. He's written for the likes of Luke Bryan, Trace Adkins, Trisha Yearwood, and Vince Gill, as well as many, many more. When his service is up next June, the teachers will head back to Nashville, and he'll no doubt carry this experience on to his music there.
It's incredible. That guy's got a great voice. You can
Doesn't
tell
he?
how talented he is.
Oh, and he has so much fun, and he loves it. That whole family, they were just wonderful.
How did you meet this guy again?
So I emceed the Air Force Ball a couple months ago,
Right.
and he sang the anthem, and we were sitting at the same table, and I used to work in Nashville, so we started talking, and I learned all this.
Wow, good thing you talked to this guy. This is a
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah, such a great guy, great family, and great story.
Well, stick with us. We got more news coming up.
Tonight's special report, 1,715 people are free once again, or at least they will soon be after former President Obama's historic number of commutations. Here's how one man hopes to prove President Obama right. Billy Ray Wheelock was supposed to spend the rest of his life in a federal prison.
I saw opportunity to make a quick $1 or $2.
He sold crack cocaine to a man who then sold it to an undercover cop. Prosecutors in Texas offered a deal, but looking down the barrel of a 20-year sentence, Billy rolled the dice and went to trial.
I broke down when they did give me the life sentence.
That's because at the time of his conviction in 1993, federal sentencing guidelines treated 1 gram of crack cocaine as the equivalent of 100 grams of powder. Right here on the facade of the U.S. courthouse reads a quotation from the Magna Carta. It's in Latin, but it means to no one shall we deny justice, nor shall we discriminate in its application. But many believe there was and still is discrimination in courtrooms in Colorado and all across the country.
90% of those sentenced for crack cocaine our African Americans across the country.
The Drug Policy Alliance put their weight behind the Fair Sentencing Act that changed all that in 2010.
Really, when you say tough on crime and tough on drugs, you know, that's code word for tough on certain people, tough on poor people, tough on African Americans, tough on Latinos.
The Fair Sentencing Act changed the ratio to 1 to 18, a number that still doesn't sound right to Billy.
If you murder one person, a manslaughter, you don't get charged for 18.
In any case, the reforms didn't do Billy much good because they could not be applied retroactively.
I've seen the worst of the worst get out in 21 years, and I still remained in prison with no hope. I mean, it's like, because life is life in the federal system.
But Billy made the most of his time, taking advantage of every educational and vocational opportunity that came his way. He even married a woman he met on a Muslim dating site.
And I didn't want him to feel by himself. I just didn't want him to feel alone. I promise to give you my life. I'll stick it out with you.
But then, a glimmer of hope.
There are still too many people in federal prison who were sentenced under the old regime and who, as a result, will have to spend far more time in prison than they would if sentenced today for exactly the same crime. This is simply not right.
I had been denied all my appeals. The clemency was my Hail Mary pass.
And one fine day,
I'll never forget, it was on a Wednesday, chicken day. Fried chicken day, I can't forget, because it had fried chicken day.
he was called into the warden's office.
It happened. I said, what happened? She said, you've been granted executive clemency by the president. And I couldn't hear no more.
4 months later, Billy Ray Wheelock walked out of the Federal Correction Institution in Florence a free man. He was one of the original 8 men and women granted clemency by the former president. They're known as the Obama 8. Since then, 1,707 more inmates were either released or saw their sentences reduced dramatically. 6 of them were convicted here in Colorado. Alvin Green, Walter Jenkins, Willie Small, Christian Jones, Ireneo Perez, and Sammy Lee Woods lost their freedom with little fanfare. Their cases didn't make the headlines. You've never seen their mugshots. Even if you Google them, you won't find much.
I think it was a good correction.
Acting U.S. Attorney Bob Troyer personally prosecuted 2 of them, Jenkins and Jones.
Both of those folks, by the way, were from Colorado Springs.
What went through your head when you were like, I know this name?
It's an interesting evaluation to do because you have more information than you had at the time. In both of those cases, I'm happy to see and surprised to see not a single Bureau of Prisons infraction, any violence or any misconduct, which is unusual and very hard to do.
When you went through, all the information about these inmates, what did you feel for them?
Frankly, my reaction was, this is great that we have an opportunity to have that history that we didn't have the time at sentencing to evaluate, as of today, is this person the same danger to the community he was in 2002? And I'm glad he's not.
Colorado ranks number 11 out of all the states and U.S. territories for the lowest number of commutations when you factor in population. Here's why.
We, from the beginning in this office, even on these older cases you've seen, charged cases through the lens of community safety.
And that was true even during the heyday of the war on drugs.
We always tried to look at how much harm are they doing their community. Are they using violence? Are they using guns? Do they have criminal history of violence? Is the organization one particularly that's keeping people from using their parks, from being able to walk to school, from being able to live safely in their communities? And charging and taking sentencing positions that took those kinds of things into account rather than just, we have 29 grams, therefore we can get 30 years.
At some point, when you're talking about 1,715 former inmates, something's going to go wrong.
It's impossible to have a system in which, because of some risk, you incarcerate people until they die.
And if Billy Ray Wheelock is any indication, the future looks bright.
As long as I can look out the window at freedom, I ain't never had a bad day since I left prison.
And his criminal history hasn't held him back in the least.
Man, I work everywhere, and they love me because I treat people like I want to be treated, and I judge no one. If you want to get paid more, do more. Like I got one job, get another one. Now you combine them, I get paid well. You know what I'm saying?
Billy is an HVAC technician. He works security at Broncos games. He's a cook at a restaurant called The Island. He also parks cars. On top of all that, he's writing a book.
As I sit here in this holding cell, totally in shock, my mind trying its best to make some kind of sense out of all of this while racing in every direction without a finish line in sight. I just sit here wondering, how in the hell did these people give me life?
He's hoping it'll give other inmates hope and inspire those on the wrong path to turn their lives around.
I can't be envious or bitter at something that I brung to my own self. I was the cause of that.
Even now, Billy still shakes as he reads the former president's letter.
This is it. This is my freedom.
And he knows the best is truly yet to come.
If you did 21 years in hell, every day is heaven.
But there is a new sheriff in town. President Donald Trump hasn't shown a whole lot of interest in continuing the former president's actions. The Drug Policy Alliance hopes the Trump administration won't roll back any of the reforms the Justice Department has made. While the acting U.S. attorney wouldn't comment on policy, he said this project has changed hearts and minds, and he believes more prosecutors will continue to make decisions based on what's best for the community. Scott?